You are listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast exploring Scripture and all things related to it. New episodes are released daily. For more information, check out glossahouse.com and subscribe to our channels on Spotify and YouTube. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to Constituent Marking with Fred Long on Proof Text. And this is Fred Long. We're continuing our study of 1 Corinthians 14. We've done chapters 12 and 13. We're now in verse 12 of chapter 14. And I'm basically walking through the Greek text, navigating it by way of using these constituent marking symbols as a way to help navigate the sentence, okay? So we begin, I'll begin by reading the Greek text. Outos ke umis epi zelote este pneumaton prostein ikodomein tes ecclesias zetite ina perisevite. All right. So I'm going to put boxes around connectors, okay? So when I see conjunctions, I put boxes around them. That's a good place to begin. I also pay attention to the punctuation. So far, I've seen a ke, I've seen an epi, I've seen an ina. Now, these are all the connectors. I next will I guess I'll just start at the beginning. I see an outos. Now, outos is kind of like a quasi connector in a sense. It's working with ke, and when ke is working with outos, it's adding thematic addition and would be translated something like also, thus also. And so what's happening is that there's an extended comparison happening. Emis, thus also you. Since epi zelote este pneumaton. So the zelote is a predicate nominative working with este with the fronted umis, okay? So once again, we're seeing a pulling out of a subordinate clause, a sentence element. And that sentence element is the subject. And this is for stress, okay? This is for stress. You, that's supposed to be an exclamation mark. You, thus also you, since you are zealous of spirits. So here we have discontinuous elements. What that means is that they're separated. Typically, modifiers are close to the nouns that they belong to. And so here we have a genitive, pneumaton. They're separated. This is called discontinuous. There's some stress on one or the other, or perhaps both. So since you are zealous of spirits, now what does that mean? Zealous of spirits. Wow. Well, the word spirits is kind of interesting because there's two possible backgrounds to this. One is it could be understood as like beings, like some kind of spiritual beings, like any kind of influences. So basically influences, whether, of spirits, which is kind of weird. From our perspective, it seems kind of weird, but in many cultures, there's kind of an animistic understanding of the world, that the world is full of spirits. And in this ancient pagan environment, which, by the way, remember, go back and listen to the first couple episodes, a few episodes, when I talk about the framework of the pagan past that Paul puts on chapter 12, 13, and 14. And this is just one of those, I think, words right here where they're used to, the Corinthians are used to a variety of gods and gifts and giftedness. And I think this provides a context to understand they're struggling with the triune God. I mean, that's also why Paul frames this discourse by talking about there is one Spirit, there is one Lord, there is one God. So look at 12, 4, 5, and 6. That triune beginning, like Paul's basically saying there's one Godhead behind the giftedness. The implication is not a multiplicity of gods and spirits and what kind of thing. So Paul is working with them. I think this is one way to understand this, is that they're really open to this kind of influence. So since you're zealous for spirits, and I think he's trying to redirect them. We're going to see how he redirects them. So that's one way to understand it, is that there's different influences that they're seeking. It's also possible that the word spirits later, so I don't know how early, pneuma, the word pneuma, can be used not just to refer to spirit, but to like breath, to breath of speaking. So a pneuma is the length of time, like a breath that you can speak out in utterance. So it's possible that this idea of spirits is related to this kind of more like grammatical, oratorical background, which I've seen dated later. I don't know its use, how, if whether that's contemporaneous to Paul now. So it's kind of interesting that spirits may have to do with speaking. Like, since you're zealous for like many breaths to speak with, that could be kind of the sense that it means there. Okay, so possible background. Epi marks support. It is subordinating conjunction. Epi zelete este pneumaton. Okay, so that's all subordinate clause. The main sentence is what follows. Zetete, seek, be seeking. Be seeking, that's present active imperative, second plural. Zeteo, it's an epsilon contract. Be seeking. And then we have this really interesting fronted prepositional phrase. Pros gets a parentheses in front of it. Prostein oikodomain, for the building up. Tes ecclesia, seek for the building up of the body. Ina, purpose clause, in order that you abound. Perisevete, present active subjunctive, second plural. So be seeking for the edification of the church in order that you would be abounding. So that the perisevete receives a single underline. That is a purpose clause. So basically, the seeking is the means, and the goal is to be abounding. To be abounding, and basically seeking, so be seeking things, it's a present imperative, so ongoingness. Be seeking for the edification of the church. And as you're seeking that, you're going to be abounding to that even more. So he's really stressing this as a goal. So be seeking for the edification of the church. Really, this prepositional phrase, which I'm going to put in, I guess I'll put in purple highlight, that is the goal. And then he's just saying, keep abounding in that goal. That is the key. Edification of the church. And this is really the purpose of God's gifts. They are not self-serving. There can be, I suppose, a self-benefit. Absolutely, that's fine. But really, they are for the benefit of the church. And of course, we're a part of the church, yes, but we should be seeking things and directing our efforts, our zeal for that which builds up the church. And that's what Paul is really going to be stressing here, stressing their agency. You put forward, thus also you do things for the building up of the church. All right.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.